Hello and welcome to week 2 of Starting Stronger 2018. So I would like to just give a brief welcome to you all for doing so well last week. I think I've spoken to everybody individually, so I'm really thrilled about that. What I would like to talk to you about right now is kind of revision. How are you getting on with your clients and rating your clients? Remember, in particular, I want you to talk about or think about the referability and the sales and the profitability of all your clients. So don't forget to put a list down and see, rate them. Look, it doesn't have to be scientific. It's your own rating for sales, profitability, and referability. So we can easily talk about that in our individual sessions. Now, we did all promise on our call last week to do 3 referrals a week. I'm going to hold up my hands and say that I actually didn't ask anybody for 3 referrals. So that's going to be on my to-do list for this week. So next week I can tell you that I've asked for 3 referrals. So be specific. So if it's looking for copy, if you're looking for an introduction, if you're looking for whatever it is, be specific. But let's see if we can think about the referrals. And I'm just going to put it out there just for you to think about if you're kind of struggling with the specificity of it and going, I'm not really sure who I should be targeting for referrals or what I should be asking for. Let's talk about that one-on-one so we can kind of get past that. I want you to model your own past success. That's always a good indicator of how you did business, why people chose you in the beginning. So it's a good one. I want you to think about 3 benefits. I know the worksheet did say 3 benefit statements, but even what you need to just tell me is 3 benefits of the service that you provide. That's all I'm looking for. I want you to think about the irresistible offer. You don't have to go and ask, offer the offer now, but if you do, brilliant, particularly maybe to lapsed customers. But what is it that makes that something that's irresistible? So it could be the offer itself, or it could be a bonus that's attached to the offer. So have a think about that. How many times are you following up? And I've spoken to some of you already about the follow-up. And I just want you to kind of start thinking, get you to think about changing how you follow up. So obviously, I'm not going to say that you stalk somebody. That's not what I mean. But I think maybe in terms of follow-up, what you can do is follow up with people so that they know you're still there. So what's your follow-up policy? And then the chatter box. How many people do you chat to and say, so what is it that you do? And then, as I was talking earlier on, I said something like, maybe how do you steer the conversation back to you? So that's always a good one. But there are 7 things that I really want you to think about and be working on. And if you're not working on it, that's fine. There's no judgment here. But know that you can work on it within the next 8 weeks. So in the next 8 weeks, what I want you to think about are writing down your goals. So I prefer if you had them written by the end of this week, which is week 2. I was just on a call yesterday and in my own mentorship, and one of the ladies had said that she sets herself goals and she doesn't know how she's going to get there, but when she set the goal and she's committed to the goal, she will get there. So I thought, that's interesting, an interesting perspective. So I thought I'd share that with you. So if you write down your goals and you know what they are, I think that you will know by the end of the 8 weeks or the 7 weeks that we have left that you're going toward a goal, you're achieving toward it. And even if you're not achieving toward it, you know what it is. And then after the 8 weeks, how do you get there? So write down some goals, just 3, plan it out, stick it up, put it up on your eye level at your desk so that you'll see it and you'll refer to it often enough. Okay. Now, we shared this last week, and it's pretty much like what I will always come back to and I will always tell you about. I want you to think about being the choice in a market, not a choice in a market. And that does mean talking about your market and your message and your media. And we will be taking all of those 3 things into account in the next 7 weeks. So be mindful of who is your market, particularly when you're writing down your customer listing, and you're rating them. Who is that? What is your message? That will help with the benefits that you're offering, the benefit statements or the benefits that I've asked you to write down from last week. That all comes to that. And then the media in terms of multiple marketing methods, but we're going to talk about that today. So always have it in the back of your mind that I want you to be a choice, the choice, not a choice in your market. Now, there are 5 golden rules, and these seem to be a little bit, they seem to be a little bit gone wrong. But today I wanted to talk to you about the 5 golden rules of marketing communications. Now, because there was quite a lot of action in last week session, this one here, there will be still some homework at the end. But what I want you to start thinking about, it's kind of like a different mindset about how you do marketing and what is marketing. So for this one, it's more, I want you to kind of think about it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. You know that. Text me if you need, if something's really, really urgent. And then when it comes to the one-to-one situation, we'll talk about it. But this is something I want you to start thinking about, are these 5 golden rules. Now, rule number 1 is you are a direct response marketer. So it's vital that you appreciate the difference between brand marketing and direct response marketing. This is how brand advertising works. Companies create ads that change your state of mind. And when you're in that state of mind, they hit you with their brand. And it's what's known as a psychological technique called anchoring. So if you think about, say, Coca-Cola, and if you envisage any ads of Coca-Cola in your mind, it's all about smiley, happy people. It's about smiley people at a beach. It's about 2 young people as they fall in love with each other. It's 2 people or a group of people at a concert. Now, Coca-Cola's mission in their mission statement is to be like a purveyor of happiness or to be associated with happiness. And that's exactly what they're doing. So they're making you feel happy and feel all good about yourself, and it's all brilliant. And therefore, Coca-Cola should be part of that occasion or situation. And that's how that works. Another example would be, and I will email you the image, is Patek Philippe. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. I haven't had one. I strive, it's one of my goals in life to have a Patek Philippe. It's a beautiful watch, and they have it a while now, actually. They have a message for the world, and it's you never really own a Patek Philippe, you only mind it for the next generation. And I remember seeing it in my good old corporate days. I was in London in Heathrow as I walked through the underground, heading from the airport to the underground train station. And it was all covered in this wonderful image of father holding a son, and they're all smiling. And I remember thinking, wow, that's fabulous, isn't it? And I thought, yeah, God, I want one of them, because I thought the messaging was wonderful, because you never really own it. You only, mind it for the next generation. Of course, I thought that was a wonderful message, but I just thought that was brilliant. And now actually I saw it. There's a female version of it. There's a mother and a daughter. So it's all great. And so that's the feeling that you get with brand advertising. So there's no buy a Patek Philippe now, or there's no buy Coca-Cola now. So that's what brand advertising is all about. Now, brand advertising doesn't really work for small and medium-sized businesses. I do not want you to spend your money on brand marketing. I want you to be doing direct response marketing. So I don't want you to be doing an ad that has a lovely, happy, smiley person, and then your logo at the bottom and maybe your website. That would be kind of like brand advertising. So the Patek Philippe one, when you think about it, it's like you don't own it. You only rent it or something like that. You only mind it for the next generation. There's no call to response in any of those ads. That is pure brand advertising. And even if you look at any of the image magazines, Tommy Hill, the pictures of Tommy Hilfiger or Chanel, and it's like literally a picture of a person in a dress. That's brand advertising. That is not what you need to be doing. You need to be asking for a response. And it's only through asking for a response that you get a response. So don't be listening to people when they call up and say, oh, we can improve your brand by taking an ad out in our paper or a magazine or anything like that. The message that you say to them is well, what's the response, generally from an advert in your magazine? So it's always about the direct response. So examples of direct response would be call Denise on, click here, download here, book now, go there, visit your webpage. You see, everybody needs a direction. So you need to be telling people what the direction is. As a marketer, you need to direct people. And for years, I would have sent out beautifully written emails. Once I was so proud of, going, gosh, yeah, that's so clever. And a lot of people would have came back and said, that's really good, Denise. Well done. But yet at the end of it, there was no, if something in this email resonates with you, why don't you get in touch with me? Sorry, why don't you get in touch with me? So that's what I probably should have said, but I didn't. So even me, with all my knowledge of marketing and branding and all that kind of stuff, I still even fell down in that trap. And I see countless ads in magazines and in newspapers and anywhere else that doesn't have the call me, get this now, contact us. So you need to direct people. And one tip that I learned a long time ago, and I will gladly share with you, is that if you can, and if you're doing a piece of advertising, if you can, and you're doing a bit of advertising, see if you can put in like maybe a different phone number that you normally use, or perhaps use a name that's not in your organization. So see the way I have called Denise on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Denise may not be in your organization, but people call up and say, hello, I'd like to speak to Denise. So immediately you know that you can track that response. And you'll say, okay, well, Denise isn't here. Let me put you through to, Deirdre or something like that. Or if you've got call Denise on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's not your normal number. So you could, if you're doing a big campaign, you could always track, using one of those, the word flip phones are coming into my mind, but like the pay-as-you-go phones, they're not that expensive, particularly if you're going to be doing a big campaign. So that way the phone only goes to, or the calls, or the marketing calls only goes to that one particular phone number, so that you know where it comes from. So that's an easy way to track the response. And that's what I mean by direct response. What you're looking for is a direct response. You're not looking to build your brand, because, the funny thing is that the more brand responsing, the more direct response marketing that you do, the more brand marketing that you do. So people will know about your brand. They'll know about your brand values. They'll know about what you stand for. They'll see your logo. They'll see your name. So it is brand marketing, but you're also getting a direct response, which means you're getting sales or leads in the door, because that's what you want as a business. There's no point having a business, building a brand, when you've got no money. And like when people are looking to be paid, well, what's the point? Like, what's that saying? Sales is sanity, profit is vanity. No, the other way around. Sales is vanity, but profit is sanity. You need to have like the money that you need to have, money in the bank. And that's what direct response marketing brings for you. It brings in leads, it brings in customers, rather than building a brand, when there's no point having a brand without the sales. So all your advertising and all your marketing should be direct response. And it should produce a measurable response. That's what I want you to start thinking about. So again, this lesson today is all about theory. It's a theory of marketing, more or less, and actually get you to start thinking about it. So what have you done in terms of your flyers or your adverts, or even in your networking? Have you been networking and just kind of left the conversation going, yeah, okay, lovely to chat to you, see you now? Or have you said, okay, well, I'll take your card and I will be the one that gets in touch with you? That kind of thing. So quite a lot of little messages coming in here. So anyway, let's get that off. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, some of you would have seen this on the webinar that did before the course started, is rule number 2, you need to have multiple marketing methods. What is the worst number in marketing? Yes, it's one marketing method. You see, you need to have a number of marketing methods in your marketing plan, because if one fails, well, then it all comes crumbling down, and that's not what I want for you. You must use multiple marketing approaches. And when I say multiple marketing approaches, they must all be direct response. So direct mail, email capture, autoresponders, direct sales, even PR should have an element of direct response. Social media, trade advertising. No point having a little, like a little stand, or in a magazine that says how brilliant you are. But even just last week, to give you an example, last week there's an awards for one of the companies that I work with, and they're sponsoring it. And one of the things with the sponsorship is that I got a 1/4-page ad. And a 1/4-page ad of an A4 is actually quite small. So I thought, right, okay, well, we can't put loads of text into it, but I am conscious of being direct response and an element of it. So I thought, okay, what will we do? So in the end, for consistency, I put in the same image that's on the website, and then I put some words in it that were direct response. And then with that, I said, like, you know, call us and visit, you know, so put the URL and the telephone number. So it was only small, and we only had like about 7 words on the advert, but it still can be done to put in something that, well, invokes an emotional response, but that it's direct response, even when you're doing something like an advert in an awards program. So same thing with trade advertising. So even if it's in a trade journal, please don't say how brilliant you are or your logo is top and center. Say, call us. It has to be direct response. Now, I will talk about this later on, but you must use multiple marketing method approaches: print advertising, pay-per-click, shows and exhibition, webinars and conferences. And you know what? I have loads of different marketing methods, and we will go through them later in the course. So don't be worrying about that. They all have to be consistent. And that's pretty much what I said. Like, if you think of that example of the awards program, we took an image that's on the homepage of the website and we put that onto the advert. So that's consistency of colors, consistency of font, all that kind of stuff that has to be all consistent. But one thing I want you to just kind of start thinking about is the pay to play marketing approach. There is a lot to be said for organic marketing, obviously networking and chatterboxing and referrals. That will be all, say, organic marketing, which is brilliant. But there is that idea of pay to play with something like Google and Facebook, for sure, but obviously print advertising, that you pay to play and get results that way. So I think it's something that you should think about. Not all marketing should be free or low cost. There should be an element of paid in it. Money equals speed. I learned that a long time ago. And so if you have it, then you might as well use it. And there should be an element of your marketing budget. And we'll talk about marketing budgets in just a second. There should be an element of your marketing budgets that will be paying to play and get customers that way. So, but I think you guys all know about multiple marketing methods. But as we go along, I want you to start thinking about the ones that will be good for you. So the more methods that you have in place, the more choice you have in how much you spend to bring in new customers. You're going to have less frustrations around getting new customers, and ultimately it will increase the value of your business. It will, because marketing creates momentum. So the more marketing that you do, the more consistent that you are, the more people see you. So it all creates a value and a cumulative effect. Now, so that's multiple marketing methods. So I want you to think about how many multiple marketing methods that you have right now, and then we will think about then we'll start introducing new methods to you. This is rule number 3. Okay, rule number 3, and it's 3 ways to grow your business. There are 3 ways to grow your business, generally speaking, right? 1, you increase the number of customers. 2, you increase the average sale. And 3, you increase the frequency of purchase. That's 3 ways to grow your business. So if you look at option A, if you increase the number of customers by 10%, now you've already drawn up your list of customers that you have in week 1 and moving into week 2, if you haven't got it done already. I want you to think about increasing the average spend by 10%. And if you increase the number of times people purchase by 10%, your turnover will increase by how much, do you think? It will increase by 33%. So I want you to kind of sit with this for a second. Those 10% are actually quite small. So those 10% are quite small. So if you think about it, now, I think there might have been a bit of a technical glitch there. My apologies about that. So back to the 3 ways to grow your business. 10%, 10%, 10%, you increase your turnover by 33%. So I want you to really think about that, and think about the number of customers that you've already written down from like exercise 1. And as I said, if you're still doing it, that's okay too. So think about how you can increase that number by 10%, or even the amount of money that they've spent. How can you increase that by 10%? Which means if you think about it, and maths is not my strong point, but a 10% increase in your prices, 10% increase in your prices with just 10% buying more and then 10% of people buying a little bit more, that's a third of your turnover. That's quite a massive turnover with not that much change within the customers to spend and the number of times that you spend. Now, this is option B. A little bit more challenging, but not one to be discounted. Okay, so if you increase the number of customers by 30%, fair enough, bit of a jump. Increase the average spend by 20%. And then if you increase the number of times people purchase by 30%, your turnover will increase by over 100%. That is a recipe for doubling your sales. So if you are adventurous enough for this, then this year, my challenge to you is to increase your number of customers by 30%, increase the average spend by 20%, and then increase the number of times that people purchase by 30%. You will double your sales. Now, do you remember last week when I talked about this? I said that every business needs to have a back end of services to be able to offer something. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the number of times people purchase by you. So there's no point. The purpose of the first sale, and I say quite a bit, so as the weeks go on, you'll probably hear me sounding like a broken down record, but that's not what I mean. So there's a number of key phrases and key beliefs that I have in terms of marketing. And one of them would be the purpose of the first sale is to get the second sale. And the purpose of the second sale is to get a third sale and the fourth sale. And that's what you need to be thinking about. So what is that upsell that you can offer? When somebody buys something from you, what can you offer them again? Now, I am not talking about being ruthless or being inauthentic. I'm thinking about that person has, or that customer has bought from you once. So therefore and you give a good service and you do a good job for them. There's no reason why they couldn't buy from you again. And so you need to think about what it is that you could sell them again. Because again, going back to this last week, and again, everything that I say is kind of like little jigsaws. I want you to kind of think of that, like, jigsaw pieces where it all kind of fits together. But last week when I talked about the back end of services, for sure, and then I talked about it's not about you, it's about them. It's about knowing your customer and knowing your client. How can you best serve them? And what is it that you can offer them to bring them along the journey to what they require? There's a guy called Zig Ziglar. He's dead now. And he was one of the first sales trainers, sales gurus, if you want to use that word, in the States. And he had said, you can get everything that you want in life, everything, as long as you help everybody else get to what they want. And so that's what I want you to be thinking about. What is it that you can think about for your customers that can better serve them other than the first job? And so if you do that, that means that will help increase the number of times that people purchase with you. So I want you to think about this and actually ask yourself, okay, in terms of the numbers, so what can work, what can happen? And you know what, you can do it. So these are 3 really good ways to grow your business. Now, that's rule number 3. Rule number 4. Testing and measuring. There are 2 levels of testing. 1 is to test the actual marketing method, and 2 is to test the elements of the marketing method. Most businesses don't even test the method. So by you testing the method, you're streets ahead of your competitors. So what I want you to think about here, again, remember, this is kind of theory laden, and we'll be talking about this, and we'll be talking about it at length as we go along through the next 7 weeks. If you test the marketing method, so I said last week, I think, and I'm going to say it again. I sometimes work with clients and we introduce a new method every month. And sometimes we're doing a campaign and we end up doing, say, 3 new methods in the campaign. And then it's important that you test the method and test it small so you don't lose your shirt, but you test it and test it out in your market, because what works for you may not work for somebody else. But then what does work for you could work for somebody else, right? So it's important that you test. And then when you do test it, it's important to test the elements of the marketing method. You see, if you engage in a marketing method that gets some response and you're willing to go to step 2, which is the elements part of it, and you test the different elements within that method, you'll have the opportunity to really radically improve your results. Now, this isn't something that we'll be doing like over the next 8 weeks, okay? So, like, you know, don't be stressing that I'm looking for you to roll out a new marketing method every week or things like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'd like you to think about, you know, what marketing method you could introduce to your, to your business. Because once we test that, then we'll test elements. If it's working, then we test elements. And by elements, there are a lot of elements that we can check. But I want you to remember 2 principles. Never spend money on marketing that you aren't willing to lose, and always test small first. So if you're, say, testing, say, a Facebook ad, perhaps, don't go straight away with like a €30 budget per day, because you could lose, you know, say €90, or you can Google pay-per-click. What I want you to do is I want you to start small. I want you to start, like, say, with a €5 a day, €3 a day, that kind of thing, and say, you know what, I am going to spend €30 over the next 3 days, 5 days, whatever, and I'm going to watch the results and then see if it works or not. And in that, then you can think about changing things up. And it's only true saying that I've got €30, I'm going to, like, you know, spend it. So you're willing to, and I wouldn't say lose that money, but, you know, that's part of, like, you know, you've dedicated that to learning, and hopefully you'll get it back. But if you don't get it back, well, then let's think about, like, you know, the learning from it. So that's what I mean by testing small. And in terms of the elements that you can measure, there are loads. If you look there, you could test, you know, the advertising, the ad headlines, the offer in your ad, page position, where your ad could be. You're going to test the copy, price reductions, price increases, the offer on a web page, colors, graphics. You know, pay-per-click would be one thing to check, to test. SEO, landing pages, email marketing. There is so many things that you can actually test. And so as we go along, I probably will say maybe we should test a bit more online stuff, because we've got 8 weeks together. But also a lot of the online stuff tends to make things very trackable. When I was doing my webinar, I was able to track, like, it's a bit more cumbersome. It's a bit more cumbersome when you have to put, you know, it's a bit more cumbersome, because what I did for the webinar, I created a landing page, separate landing page, I should say, for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So I was able to track how people came through to the webinars. So I didn't do that for the first one, and that was a mistake. That was like a lesson learned. So when I came to the second one, I was able to see, you know, track it. And again, as I said, it's a bit more cumbersome, a bit more effort involved, but at the same time, it was surprising, the results. I had more coming in from LinkedIn and Instagram than I did from Facebook. So that was an interesting one that I'm definitely going to be testing over the next 4 weeks myself, to see, what can I do to see if I can test that? So it's interesting, but that's what I want you to think about in terms of testing. Now, I was just testing the method. So the next thing will be testing the copy, you know, run that. So I know that I'm getting results to that target market. So then it's to test it, you know, test different elements. So that will be my next step. And that's what I want you guys to start thinking about in terms of testing and measuring. And for testing to work, again, kind of connected to those principles that I talked about, you must measure response. And that's pretty much what I said about my LinkedIn, my web pages for LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So I was able to measure that, and also be willing to fail. So there is no such thing as failure. It's really feedback, and it's learning. That's why I'm always encourage you to test small. And if you test small and you say, okay, well, this is all I'm willing to lose, you're not really failing. But there is that sense. I know I've talked to people, about their Facebook ads not working, and then they feel a failure because then everything's not working and it's never going to work and it's all just going to be terrible shocking. And that's not it. It's just that ad at that time didn't work. So then let's see what could work and take it from there, because that's what you've just done. You've tested and you've learned from it. And the worst part of it is if you test something, if you test a marketing method and say it's an advertising piece in a local magazine or a local paper, and then you go, right, well, that didn't work, and leave it. But instead of saying, okay, well, why didn't it work? And maybe the next time we could try it and see if we test something, like change something around. Maybe the ad was on page 12 when it should have been on page 9. Maybe the picture was up at the top when it should have been at the bottom. Little things like that. So don't give up on the first go, because it's like that. Just because somebody says no in the first time doesn't mean that they're going to say no in the second time. So that's testing and measuring. And I really want you to kind of think about that and let it sit with you, and we'll talk about that as we go on. Now, our last rule is rule number 5, and it's the idea of buying customers or buying clients. Now, I want you to just kind of sit with this while I talk about it. It's fairly different. So we'll talk about it again, but I want you to sit with it, and I wanted you to bring it to your attention. So I want you to think about how can I always buy customers? So you see, most people come up with a marketing budget, but I want you to drop the concept of a marketing budget. Because if you test and you measure your marketing, you know how much it costs to get a customer. So you must continually invest in getting new customers. Now, I know people who have broken even on just getting a customer because they thoroughly believe that the purpose of the first sale is to get a second sale and a third sale. That they know and they stand by that what they're going to do and what they're going to give their customer is 100%, and that person's going to be 100% satisfied and they're going to be happy out. And that means then you're going to get money from it from the next time and the time after that and the time after that. You see, if you get to a point where you're willing to spend a certain amount to buy a customer, and you've done enough testing and measuring to know that you will be in a position to choose how many customers you have. So I want you to calculate the true value of your customers. Now, this is something that we will talk about again in the next couple of weeks. So I guess I'm just kind of setting the stage. This is a theory-led class more than anything. So it's more to kind of get you to think about things like this. So over the next 3 years, each new customer I attract will be worth an average of what? Now, I want you to think about that, and I want you to really sit down and actually write it down. I want you to maybe look at your revenue over the last 3 years and divide that number by the number of customers. That will get you a figure. Or if you have different services, perhaps you might want to write down the different services that you have and then divide it by, do the same process, but look at the revenue per process or per service. And if yours is a new business, you'll need to estimate this number, which is difficult enough, but let's assume that you've got a customer, it's worth €100 to you now, and then another customer will be €100, etc. So when you're testing and measuring to build a pillar support in your business, I want you to keep this number in mind, because if it comes to it, you can easily, as I say, break even on a sale. So for most businesses, it is a very smart marketing strategy to be willing to break even on the first sale, because you're 100% behind the fact that you're going to provide a good service. And what's the point of a first sale? To get a second sale and a third sale and a fourth sale. Because if you start thinking about businesses, I'm going to put that one back there. If you start thinking about your business as this system where you get customers, so you attract customers, but also that you retain them and that you have a ring fence around them, then it becomes more realistic for your business to be able to grow and grow and grow. So you're growing by attracting customers, and then you're also growing by keeping the customers and getting them to buying more for you. So we'll go back to this, but I just wanted to introduce this concept to you because I thought this is quite a theory-laden class. So let's actually kind of bring it with you. Think about it in terms of marketing, and we will talk about it, in the individual sessions with you individually. So let's recap. This is what I want you to get from today's class. I want you to start thinking that you only engage in direct response marketing. And by that, right, I want you to think about, I want you to look at your homepage, I want you to look at flyers that you've given out. I want you to look at brochures that you've given out. I want you to think about your networking event. I want you to think about emails that you write. What is the call to action that you have? What is the direct response that you're looking for people to do? And if you don't have one, it's time to introduce one on your website, on every single page of your website, on your social media posts. Not all of them, but I think the ratio is 1 in 4. You could do that. So I want you to start thinking direct response marketing. How can I get a response from this? Because you always have to be testing and measuring, but particularly measuring. I want you to think about building in multiple marketing methods to get new customers. So can you think about adding in another way to get to start attracting new clients, or for that matter, keeping your clients. But let's actually think about getting new clients. I want you to focus on 3 ways to grow. I want you to focus on the 3 ways to grow your business: increasing the number of customers, increasing the average sale, and increasing the frequency of purchase. So how can you increase the number of customers you have? How can you increase the average sale? And how can you increase the frequency of purchase? Because when you start thinking about that, look, if you don't do it in the next 8 weeks, that's okay. I want you to do it by the end of 2018. You're starting stronger. You signed up for this course to start stronger. And that's exactly what I want you to do, so that you'll finish strong, okay, as well. I want you to think about the whole testing and measuring. Please don't think that if you've done something in the past, and that's something maybe I want you to think about. If you've done something in the past and it hasn't worked, let's actually go back and understand why it didn't work, and see how could we do something different. It may be too long in the past to make that change, but it's something that we should think about. And maybe your gut feeling could say, well, the image wasn't wrong, or there was no call to action, or the placement wasn't properly placed, that type of thing. So testing and measuring is going to be your mantra from now on. And then let's all think about having a relentless focus on buying customers. Because if, as I said, you know that there's a way, and I'm just going to use Facebook advertising or Google advertising because it's easy. If you know that you spend €500 on Google ads, and you brought in, say, 4 customers, and 4 customers, your average customers is, say, 4,000. Spending 500 to get 4,000 is pretty good return. That's not even break even. That is actually making a profit. So if you know that that method that you have brings in 4 customers, how about if we increase the spend on that 500 and bring it into maybe 600 or 700? Can we bring in more customers? So that's what you mean by in terms of buying customers. And be confident in your abilities that you could even break even, that you could spend €50 to bring in a €50 client, because the next time that they're going to buy, it's going to be something that's like €500 or something. So every business is different, and I could easily map it out with you, but I just want you to start thinking that way. Okay. Now, while it is a theory-based class, I do want you to take some actions. I want you to see how many marketing methods you have. So put that down on the sheet. I want you to work out how much a client is worth to you by using that formula. And we will talk a little bit more about the lifetime value of a customer as in the next couple of weeks. What one new marketing method or what one thing can you test over the next week? Is it how you approach somebody at a networking event? Is it that you put something on the bottom of your email signature? Is it that you put something on an advert? Is it that you do an advert? Is it that you increase your social media presence? What is it? And where can you add a direct response or a CTA, which is a call to action today? Where can you add that in? So I'll put these in the worksheet anyway, and I'm going to upload this, the training, when it's all saved, so that you'll be able to kind of go back and look at it again. And if you have any questions at all, you know where I am. Please email me. And we will, this week I know is a bit odd on Friday because I won't be available for individual sessions. So we need to catch up on them. So let's see about taking these actions. Let's look at week number 1 as well, because I want you to look at week number 1 and see how I can help you. So take this, absorb it, let it sink in, and then let's have a chat about it. And if there's any questions, any queries, please let me know, and I'm here to help. You know that. So let's get starting stronger, and we will have a really good year. Okay, take care. Bye.